Hello, my family. Well, it is Tuesday evening, and we are actually going to be spending some kitchen time tonight. I'm actually going to prepare a Mediterranean dish. This could go two ways. It could go both for diabetics and Mediterranean. I'm actually going to take one of our meals, which I will explain what we're having tonight. We are having roasted baby potatoes, garlic and herb roasted. We are going to have a cranberry chicken. This recipe comes from the Mediterranean dish. She is phenomenal. This is a really beautiful meal. This can even be used for the holidays or for two people if they wanted to. And then we are going to have a side of cranberry bacon roasted Brussels sprouts. I'm going to walk you through it. That recipe with the Brussels sprouts comes from a YouTuber from Recipe 30. He does phenomenal, as well as Mediterranean dish, Mediterranean food. So both of these can be used actually for diabetics. I'm going to convert the chicken one for diabetic, but I'm going to include the recipe in the description box below for both the Brussels sprouts and the chicken, and I'm going to add the conversion in parentheses. So let's get started. If that sounded confusing, I'll take you step by step, but we are going to make an absolute beautiful meal tonight, and I'm going to walk you through it because I think this is something everybody could have basically with simple ingredients, and I'm going to show you that is basically what I do. I use simple ingredients, and I will search these recipes out to have a phenomenal meal on my table using basically what I've had in the house. So let's get started. Okay, y'all, so I am going to convert this recipe into diabetic friendly. And for two people, I'm going to cut it down. But I will go ahead and give you the full recipe in the description box below. Remember, this one is from the Mediterranean dish. This is not my meal, but this is one that my husband absolutely loved. As a matter of fact, went for seconds. So, and it is a gorgeous dish for the holidays. We are going to start out with our chicken, our cranberry chicken. And the reason we're doing this one first, it needs to bake and it needs to rest in marinate a bit. So we're going to go do that one first. We're going to start with our cranberries. And the recipe calls for 2 cups of cranberries. So I am cooking for 2. We are using fresh cranberries, and this is a time when we get those cranberries for discount after the holidays. This would be one meal that I would probably go and stock cranberries up to have throughout the year. It is that delicious. I mean, to me, you can't, cranberries isn't just for the holidays, you know. So I'm going to save this for another meal. That's what I love about this. Now the next part in our ingredient is 1/3 cup of brown sugar. So again, I am going to be using for this recipe, or for this one, I am going to be using the Swerve brown sugar substitute. This is where it changes this recipe to make it diabetic friendly. And it works exceptionally well. Well, that's going to equal it out. So, all right. And then it has, for this part, because we're going to set it aside and let this coat itself a little bit. It calls for 3 tablespoons. Actually, you're going to be using 1 tablespoon of white wine vinegar in this. So we're going to go get our white wine vinegar. And then we're going to add it to our mix. Now we're going to go ahead and stir this, and we're going to set it aside and let this work its little magic here. So I'm going to take, and I'll just mix this up. Let these coat, and then this will come back much later to top our chicken with before we bake it. Alright, so now we're going to set this aside. Basically, the only thing that changes this recipe and makes it diabetic friendly is changing the sugar substitute, because everything else in this recipe is absolutely safe for a diabetic. So that's what I love about this. It was so easy to convert. And I've been teaching a lot about converting recipes and making it your own and making it diabetic friendly. It doesn't have to be boring, y'all. You can have amazing meals, and that's what I'm showing you. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean this up and get ready for our chicken. Okay, y'all, so we have currently 4 chicken thighs here, and I am going to be using a seasoning mix of salt, pepper, paprika, and rosemary. The recipe calls for 6 to 8 cloves of minced garlic, 1.5 teaspoons of dried rosemary, or 1.5 tablespoons of fresh. I am using dried. And then it has, let's see, in the paprika, we have 1 teaspoon. So I'm actually going to be mixing this with my garlic, because we're going to coat this chicken even underneath the skin. I am going to include Mediterranean dish, her video, in the description below for you to please check it out, because I can't take credit for this recipe. It is her absolute amazing creation, and it's so worth watching. So they give you plenty of beautiful ideas for Mediterranean dishes as well. As a matter of fact, I went and bought her book. That's how enthusiastic I was about it, and how much we enjoy the flavor from that creator's food. So maybe it is something that I can direct you to, because this is something we have eaten, and we have a lot of go-to meals from Mediterranean dish. Susie is an amazing, amazing lady. So I'm just going to go ahead and continue to keep taking this chicken, and I'm adding the seasoning underneath the skin. The reason underneath the skin is to get those flavorings in, because a lot of times we'll just season the skin, but truthfully, we're not even going to eat that skin. We're just going to do a little bit of this, but I'm just going to go ahead and coat just a little bit. I want mainly my ingredients underneath that skin part. I'm going to gather all this remaining in here. And now I'm going to set this aside while we finish filling up our baking dish, because we are going to bake this, but we're going to sear this first. So I'm going to set this aside, and I will be right back as I wash my hands and come back and start finishing the rest of this. Okay, y'all, so I am currently even multitasking, because while I'm preparing this, I'm also making some feta cheese. So I'm kind of working this in between. Now my next step in here, because I want to marinate my chicken just a little bit before we sear it, is I'm going to be using, now I told you we did a big haul of chopped celery. This has been in my freezer, so it's perfect to use for this dish. And I'm going to be adding some chopped celery to my baking dish. It calls for about 3 stalks, so about a cup and a half worth of celery in here. Use your judgment. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then it calls for 1 large onion chopped. Again, just use your judgment and do what you feel that you would like. Now, I don't have a fresh lemon, so I'm going to estimate basically 1 lemon gives me about 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. So I'm going to add the lemon juice to this. And I'm going to also add the rest of the white wine vinegar, which will be about 2 tablespoons of that as well. So I'm going to go ahead and add my white wine vinegar. Add that in here. And now I'm going to add my lemon juice in here. And that, like I said, that calls for 1 whole lemon, but I don't have it. So you can improvise. If you don't have a natural lemon, you can use lemon juice. It does taste different, but it's still going to give you that lemony flavor. These are those areas you use what you have to get what you want. So in this case, I'm using this. Now I'm going to take my chicken and I'm going to add it to here. And I'm going to mix my chicken in with this marinade. So I'm just going to set it in here. And I'm actually going to be baking in this same dish right here. So I'm just basically going to put this in here right now. Add all the bits of the garlic and everything into this same pan, because we don't want to lose any of our flavorings. And I'm just going to do a quick toss of all of this mixed in here, coating this chicken up really well, just like so. Okay, and now I'm going to set this aside for approximately about 15 minutes right now, and then we'll come back and we'll have this searing before it goes in the oven. Alright, my family, so the next step now is we are going to sear our chicken. It has been about 15 minutes. Now, I did forget to add the salt and the pepper, so don't do that. Don't be me. I did add it, though. So right now, we're just going to sear our chicken because we're going to get ready to bake this. I am also, while this is sitting here, heating. I told you we go through a lot of chicken broth. We're fixing to get some more from the pantry because we're going to need that in this dish as well. You can choose to just use water if you want. But I'm going to actually use chicken broth because when I made this before, it tasted really good with the chicken broth. The broth that you're going to need is about a half a cup. So it's not a whole lot. Now I'm going to let this get to temp so that we can sear this. And once this is up to temp, we will be right back and I will show you what needs to be done for this before we start popping it into the oven. Okay, y'all, so our pan is now heated. Now I'm going to go ahead and add our chicken. We're going to actually put the skin side down. And what we want to do is get a good sear on this thing. So once it gets here in the oil, we do not want to move this until it's released from the pan on its own, and then it should be golden brown. We're going to set this skin side down in this pan. This one just does not want to. I'm also going to salt and pepper the bottom side. Wash my hands right quick because my tongs did not want to work right now. Now I'm going to go ahead and, because I missed it, salt and pepper the bottom of my chicken right quick. We're going to let this sit for about 5 minutes and let these sear. And at that time, we're going to flip it over. So in about 5 minutes, we will be back and we will flip this over. Actually, I'm going to let this sear, and I will show you what it should look like beforehand. We'll flip it over, and then we're going to let it sear for about another 3 minutes on the other side, and then put this in our baking dish and get it ready for the oven at that point. So I'm going to go ahead and let this cook because the skin needs to get golden brown, and then we will come back as soon as that has happened. Okay, y'all, so now we're going to go ahead and turn these over. It's been about 5 minutes, and then, oh, that's a beautiful coloring on that skin. You are welcome to eat the skin if you want to. We try to, even though we're doing low carb, I understand a lot of low carb, you can actually eat the fat from the skin, and I get that. But with both of us also having issues with cholesterol, we're just trying to keep some of the fat down. This is just preferably our choice. We're not telling anybody what to do. That's basically why we do a lot of Mediterranean. That's why we used olive oil and we use ghee, because we are actually cutting down on the fat. So we won't be eating the skin, but you are more than welcome to if you want to. It's got an amazing flavor at this point. So we have our oven preset for 425 degrees. We now finished the top part of this, so it'll be about 3 more minutes. We're going to go ahead and finish the searing on our chicken, and then we're going to add it to our baking dish so that we can put it in the oven, and at that point we're going to bake it. But the baking will take 35 to 40 minutes, so that will give me time to prepare the potatoes and the Brussels sprouts, which we will do next. I'm going to do this whole entire meal with you. If you're a diabetic, if you're able to handle the potatoes in a small amount like my husband does due to the meds, basically, by all means, you can use this recipe. If you cannot tolerate it, and if it weren't for the meds, he couldn't tolerate this either, you can absolutely omit this and just choose another side of your choice. And the Brussels sprouts will be a perfect dish to add for a diabetic, and it will accompany this because the Brussels sprouts are also a cranberry pecan bacon side dish. It'll go perfect with this chicken. So we will be back in about 3 minutes when this side is done and finish the preparing for our chicken. Okay, so our chicken is done, so now we're going to go ahead and add it to our baking dish. Back over our bed with our celery and our onions. I'm actually going to scrape out the goodies that were inside of here as well. This time we're going to put the skin side up into our baking dish. I'm going to go ahead and scrape out this goodies in here. Just a little bit. And then I will add the rest of the ingredients to this. So let me go ahead and get you set up, and I will show you what comes up next. Alright, y'all, now here's where that beautiful coloring comes in. I'm going to go ahead and add my chicken broth, which is the half cup chicken broth in here. You can add water if you choose. I choose the chicken broth because it adds more flavor to it. And then the topping on top of this will be those cranberries, the sweetened cranberries that we made earlier. We're going to take that and put it over the top of our chicken. Oh, this becomes such a beautiful, let me see if I can get it this way so you can see better. I have such a small space to work with, so, and I'm trying to scrape out all that sugar sweetness out of here too. And we're just going to put this all over the top of our beautiful, oh my goodness, beautiful chicken. You see what I mean when I said it could be a Christmassy dinner too if you wanted, or even a New Year's. Frankly, you can have this anytime you want. Like I said, I am going to look for the cranberry sales, and I will purchase some cranberries just for this dish throughout the summer. because this is an amazing dish. We both enjoy that. So now this is ready to go in the oven, and we will bake this for 35 to 40 minutes. In the meantime, I'm going to prepare us next for doing our potatoes and our Brussels sprouts. Okay, so now we are going to go ahead and do our garlic and herb potatoes, and then we are going to do our broccoli. So here we have little baby mixed red and white potatoes. Now we're only cooking enough for 2 people. Some things I do not do for leftovers, although we like leftovers. But when it comes to potatoes and stuff, we don't eat a whole lot of it, especially hubby. So I'm just going to turn around and cut these in half right quick, or even into quarters. Like so. These are small potatoes, so, but some of these are kind of big. So I just go by basically bite-sized pieces. I'll cut them into fourths, actually. It looks like that would probably be better off. Just go ahead and cut them just like so. Super simple. And just, now this one here was slightly bigger, so I cut it down just a little bit more. Now we still may end up with some leftovers, but that's all right, because I'll have them for lunch tomorrow. And that's all we're going to use here. So next I'm going to take them and drizzle this with some olive oil. Like so. Going to get some salt and pepper to this. And I'm using Himalayan sea salt. I don't use iodized salt at all. And then we'll use some Italian seasoning. Just sprinkle a little bit of that. And you are welcome to use fresh garlic to this, but I have used fresh garlic and dehydrated it, so I'm going to actually use my garlic powder into this dish. And then we're just going to coat it afterwards. I'll go ahead and just get my spatula. Coat just a little bit. And then we're going to cover this. And then we're going to put this in the oven with our chicken in a baking dish. And this baking dish, actually, we're just going to leave it just like it is in here. And then we're going to go ahead and bake these after they're good and coated. And we'll bake these until they are done. Then we're going to go ahead and start baking or roasting our Brussels sprouts next. I'm going to go ahead and just pop these in the oven now, and we'll be back. Okay, so this recipe calls for using dried cranberries. Now, for those of you who do not have restrictions, you will need, let's see, about a quarter cup or so. Choose your preference on how. This recipe here is going to be based on your taste, your preference, your amount for your family. He does have a recipe, and like I said, that's going to be another one. I'm going to put the link in the description box for you to check out this man's from Recipe 30. His recipes are also just as amazing. But what I am going to end up doing is I'm going to use my home dehydrated cranberries, as these are sugar-free. They do have a 50% less, which I had found it, 50% less sugar cranberries as well. For a quarter cup of those cranberries, it is 12 grams of sugar though, so I want you to know that. But we are going to use these here that are home dehydrated. And I'm going to use, I have maybe a cup and a half's worth of, or a pound of Brussels sprouts. So I'm going to use about a quarter cup or less, about an eighth of a cup or so. And I am going to soak these in hot water to reconstitute them a little bit, soften them up. And to sweeten them, I am actually going to use some monk fruit, brown monk fruit, after they have been constituted, to kind of give that sweetened cranberries to the original recipe and make it diabetic friendly. So I'm going to go ahead and get here about a quarter cup or so of my cranberries. And then I'm going to put these in hot water and let these sit aside while I prepare the Brussels sprouts. Okay, now that our cranberries are soaking, we're going to go ahead and start cutting our Brussels sprouts. These have been cleaned and washed, and the ends have been trimmed off. So I'm going to cut these directly in half and then stick these in our bowl because we're going to prep these up for roasting. So now I'm just going to sit here and cut them all in half, just like so. Now I'm going to go ahead and finish this, and I will be right back. Okay, so I have all of our Brussels sprouts cut in half. Now I'm going to take it and drizzle this with olive oil and sprinkle it with some salt and pepper. I'm going to make sure that I can coat all of these really well. Add my salt and pepper. Now we're going to just toss this up really well. Make sure that I coat it really good before I put this on our baking sheet, because we're going to also put this in the oven. And we're going to actually bake this for about 25 minutes until they're soft and caramelized. I'm going to put this here and then get my baking sheet out. And overlook this baking sheet. It is so old, but it works. Now I'm going to take my halves, and I'm just going to put them cut side down, just like this, and we're going to line it up all the way through our pan. We don't necessarily have to oil our pan because these are already coated with olive oil. I'm just going to go through here and just pop all this in here and put all our cut sides down. You'll get a few straggling pieces that came off of there. That's quite all right. Just toss them in here. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this off, and then once I get this done, we'll pop this in the oven, and I'm going to let this roast. Okay, so our next step, and usually he would take and slice this and put it in the oven. My oven is currently full, so I'm going to do this by hand in a roasting pan or a frying pan on the stove. So I'm going to take my bacon and I'm going to slice this like so. And then we're going to fry these until they are golden brown. Once they are golden brown, I'm going to pull them aside, and then we are going to take some pecan halves and we're going to roast those as well. I'm just going to continue to keep cutting this just like this in half, or well, in strips basically. It starts getting a little tricky towards this end. And then I'm going to add this to my frying pan, and then we're going to fry this up until they are crispy. And once I get these golden brown, we will come back and then I will go to the next step. So right now we have our Brussels sprouts in the oven roasting. We have our cranberries soaking. We have our bacon. I used a quarter, about a half of a half on my bacon. But you can choose to use how much you need for your family. And again, like I said, I'm going to put his video. He also has the link to the recipe, or I will just link the recipe to make it so much easier for you. So we'll do it that way too. Now I'm going to go ahead and get this finished up so we can get caught up, and then we're going to dress this up and fix our meal. Okay, so our potatoes are now out of the oven, good, crisp, seasoned, soft. Our chicken, oh Lord, it's so beautiful. Our chicken is now out of the oven, and we're going to let this rest for about 10 minutes. In the meantime, I'm just going to take beautiful sprigs of fresh rosemary and put this on the top of our dish, as we will serve this for supper tonight. I don't know if you noticed how much of the stuff that we used from our pantry this evening, but we've had our chicken broth. We have our cranberries, and then, yeah, we did our grocery haul. And it seems that we started just slightly earlier than we stated. We're kind of in a position that would cause us to do so. So it doesn't matter. So if y'all are willing to be on board, you can start whenever you're ready. We are partially having to do this now, so, and it's okay. We may have to some point add some meat to our freezer, but we need to use what we have now. So still working on the Brussels sprouts at the moment, but the rest of our meal is already done. And I will give you just a second, a close-up shot of this chicken and our potatoes, and then we will work on our Brussels sprouts next. There is our beautiful chicken thighs, our cranberry chicken thighs, and then we have our roasted baby potatoes. Y'all, my mouth is drooling right now because I know what this is like. This is how we eat on this homestead. We don't believe in bland. However, it's very simple. It's quick meals, basically, and they're delicious. They're really not that expensive. We try to keep it minimal as much as possible. So, I mean, you catch a cranberry on sale, use half of it for a family of 2 or a whole pack for a whole family. Catch chicken thighs have been pretty reasonable, it seems, right now. I don't know how long that will last, but chicken thighs are reasonable, and they work fantastic in a meal. We catch our potatoes when they're on sale, so we keep everything reasonably priced to be able to have a fantastic meal. So we're working on the Brussels sprouts, and once I get them going, I will show you how to finish this. Okay, so now I'm going to toast some pecan halves to go on top of this. And pecans here, holy smokes. So we're not going to use a whole lot of these, and I will probably break these down instead of using whole halves, because pecans here are stupid crazy high. We actually, like Georgia, we have abundance normally of pecans, but for the past 2 years, our pecans have been really, really bad because the weather would wipe out our stalks, or wipe out the farmer stocks here. So it's kind of put a really bad hurting in the pecan industry in our area. The thing about the chicken too, the reason we said that we are watching how much fat is because this bacon as well. We added bacon to this dish, so, and even though it's crispy, there's still fat in it. So we kind of are moderating how much of the fat we have, but we're not eliminating it. So I'm just going to go ahead and dry pan roast these pecans right quick. And I'm going to set this aside because our, not mistaken, yep, our Brussels sprouts are just about done to be added to our dish. We will be right back. Okay, so our Brussels sprouts came out of the oven after being roasted. We have a nice golden color on the top. We have a nice caramelization on the bottom of these, and they are very soft, fork tender. Now we're going to set this aside, and at the moment, while these, we're going to let these toast for just a few seconds here, because these are about done, and we're going to set that aside right now. So at this point, I'm going to take some balsamic vinegar. I'm going to use just a little bit of this balsamic vinegar. Let's see if I have one. Let's see if I have one that's open. Be right back. Okay, so I am ready now to sprinkle balsamic vinegar on top of the Brussels sprouts. I drained our cranberries, and I am using monk fruit sweetener, the brown, on top of our cranberries to sweeten these up a little bit. And just a little bit more. Okay. Now I'm going to drizzle balsamic vinegar over the tops of our... Yeah, I'm just going to use this because this bottle is not something that will drizzle easy. So I'm just going to drizzle this just a little bit over the tops of my Brussels sprouts. Just like so. You don't use a whole lot of this. You want to do a good drizzle, and that's about it. Then we're going to take our crumbled bacon, add this all together on top. Like so. Then we're going to also add our pecans that we toasted, and add this throughout the dish. Now I'm going to reserve some of this because we're going to put this in a baking dish, and at this moment I'm actually going to get my spatula, and we're going to actually work this in here together, mix it up just like so. Now I'm going to take and put this in a serving dish, so I'm going to remove this pan right now. Get my serving dish, and I'm going to prop this up right here, like so. Put our Brussels sprouts in here. Just like that. Now I'm going to top this with our cranberries in here. And then finish with the rest of our pecans. And there we have it. There is our side dish to go with our chicken and potatoes. This is also very diabetic friendly. So I have an amazing Mediterranean, rather low fat, besides the bacon, moderately fat, and it's wholesome food. It's all pecans, cranberries. Those cranberries were actually home dehydrated, like I said, and then we have the fresh Brussels sprouts. So this is about as good as you're going to get here. And if you wanted to, you could, if you're not able to get a hold of fresh Brussels sprouts, you can use frozen. Just defrost them first. And let me give you an angle of what this dish looks like, and we will be right back. And there is our side dish with our Brussels sprouts. Y'all, I actually want to take my fork and really dig into this. This looks absolutely amazing. So we have not actually tried this dish yet. This is the first time we're trying it. But I'm going to tell you, from what I'm seeing, I cannot wait. So I'm going to set you back up, and I'll be right back. And this would conclude our meal for tonight. I'm hoping, even if you didn't make all of these, I'm hoping I give you at least some ideas how to incorporate meals into nutrition, and how to be able to cook, it's not the word I'm looking for, I'm trying to figure out the word I'm looking to accommodate each other. That's what I'm looking for. How to pair off what vegetable in during a meal, and how to use some of the things that you have, if you should have what we do, in your pantry. Now, what have I learned through this experience? Number one, those Brussels sprouts, I did take a taste of it. I had to. They're absolutely amazing. I will probably, not only when I buy cranberries during their sale after the holidays, I'm probably going to dehydrate a bunch more. To be quite honest with you, I find it is going to be very beneficial, whether it be for baking or whether it be for cooking like this. Having those cranberries that are unsweetened, we sweeten them ourselves, to me, I find to be perfect. So I will probably be doing that. We actually love that chicken, so I will be putting some of those cranberries also in the freezer. Like I said, the last time we had that dish, hubby went for seconds. And so we are learning that sometimes cranberries, I used to look at it as a one season thing. Now, as far as that goes, it is a one season thing when it comes to purchasing. And most people only think to use them for cranberry sauce. Me, I always step outside the box. So I will use them in a dish. I will use them for baking. I will use them for snacking or whatever else, including sauce. So I will also use them for making cranberry juice. So like I showed you in our pantry, I have some of that waiting for me as well. So I will be purchasing more of those. Now I will catch them on a sale though. And even though it is our pantry challenge, I told you there are some sales I will do so that I can do for the next several months. I hope you enjoyed this segment, and I hope that this is something that you look forward to, because this is just the beginning of what's to come for winter. I gave you an example in our kitchen of what it's going to be like working in a pantry challenge with the food that we have. In case some people wanted to know what is a pantry challenge, this is the example that I'm giving you tonight on how to do that. So until next time, much, much love. Seriously, y'all, I cannot, again, thank you enough for what you are doing for our homestead. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. So I give God thanks and glory for you, for bringing you to us, for loving us like you have, for the warm hugs. Y'all are amazing, and I am so proud to call you family. It's, y'all, my cup runneth over. So until next time, much love to each and every one of you from Parton's Heritage Homestead.